Do you want to get started with committee reports, and I'll see if I
Yeah.
can get a hold of her?
Sure.
I have a question before we get started about the recap of last month's meeting that was in the newsletter. Okay. Because it says that there was no guest speaker last month, but there were two developers in our meeting who took up like over 2/3 of the meeting. So what were they considered to be?
Well,
Presenters.
I guess the guest speaker is someone that comes from outside to speak. That was more like a community vote, I guess.
Right. So how does it distinguish on who gets to go first in the meeting? Because they were allowed to have like over 2/3 of our meeting, which is very unusual. So who's going to be ensuring that we all get equal time, including community members in meetings?
Well, I guess because we didn't have because we did not have a speaker, we allowed them to go first since they had an outstanding thing that they wanted to get addressed in the meeting. I guess typically you're right. They usually go at the end.
And there was a lot of participation by members.
So
I'm sorry, Diane?
There was a lot of participation by members.
Right, but my question is who is tracking the meeting? So normally someone is tracking the time on the meeting. So when we have a guest speaker, which is great, I think it's great to have guest speakers, but I don't think it's at the expense of our committee reports, of people who are giving good work in our community. I don't think they get like the crumbs at the end. And we have people, like you said, outside of the community coming in and getting 2/3 of our meeting. So my question is during our meetings, who's tracking time? Just like when we were at the school, someone would say, okay, you have 5 more minutes.
So Brian is doing that. That did last longer than last week than it should have. But Brian is typically tracking time and trying to keep everything so we are done in an hour and a half or less.
All right, so the guest speaker gets how much time?
20 minutes.
Okay, so it would be fair to say last month they should have gotten 20 minutes.
They should have gotten 20 minutes.
So from now on, that's going to be. I just want to make sure that our committee reports, because we're doing really good work in the community, are not pushed aside.
Okay, that's great. All right.
Okay, so now I know Brian is keeping time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to get started. This is the September membership meeting for the Upper Fells Point Improvement Association. I am Liz Bement. I'm the president. Brian Seal. Can you say hello, Brian? Unmute. And then we have Pascal Patton. Pascal, are you here?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, I am.
And he's our treasurer. We have John Betcher. John, he is our secretary.
Hi, everyone.
And we have Joe Whitford, who is our parliamentarian. Is this the first meeting for anyone? Rebecca, do you want to say just a short sentence about where you live and what you do? Or about yourself?
Okay, I can. My name is Rebecca Mikowski. I live along Ann Street. I am a graduate student at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine.
Welcome, Rebecca. Anybody else? Okay. And so I guess if Robin is not with us.
I'm sorry, Leslie, did you get a chance to I thought you were going to.
I did not. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, it took me a second to unmute myself. But I'm Leslie. I live on the 300 block of Ann Street. I just moved to the area a little over a month ago. And I work for federal government.
Welcome, Leslie.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, so if Robin is not with us yet, then we'll get right into the committee reports and hopefully she will join us soon. So let's start off with the treasurer's report. So Pascal?
Could you give me just a minute? I'm pulling up my sheet.
Oh, okay. Let's do beautification. Let's do Lisa. She has lots of things to discuss. You're on mute, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa. And so I'm on a Zoom marathon. I think I've been on this for like 6 hours straight now. So I'm like a little batty here. But anyway, yeah, beautification, we got lots going on. And we actually had a really interesting conversation. And I don't, is Brian Regali on?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Brian, just so that you know, I'm going to let you go ahead and give a little bit of a summary of what we talked about today with Wheelabrator. And then that'll break up the beautification from just you guys having to hear me. So, and it was just a really fascinating meeting that we had, but that's about recycling. And so I'm not going to talk about recycling at the minute because Brian's going to do that. But we have a couple of things going on. Number one, we are doing an auction, an online auction in October to raise money for beautification projects, specifically because we have a grant that we received and we have to match that grant. So we have to provide some financial input into that project. And so we're going to be doing an online auction. So if anybody has anything that is either new or slightly used that they no longer want, but think somebody else would love. It could be anything. Gift cards are great, and just household items, things like anything that you think. There's nothing too small. We are even bundling some things together like toys and things like that. So just email me at beautification. Would be great if you sent me a picture and then a little bit of a summary. And Beth is helping me pick up the items, and it takes a lot of time to take pictures of them and put the descriptions up on the website and all of that. So the sooner you can get them to me, the better. The auction will be from the 18th to the 25th. It'll be 1 week. And there'll be like there'll be advertising about that in soon. We just don't have it all set up yet. We, as some of you know, we received a $10,500 grant based on a grant proposal that we submitted for, it's called the Tree Pit Adornment Project. And basically what it is, it's going to be an art installation in 18 different tree beds in the neighborhood. It'll include the making of a large mosaic medallion that actually at some point I'll show you what they look like because the picture really speaks 1,000 words. But they basically, the medallion requires 180-pound bag of concrete mix. So it's a big, it's like 20 inches by 12 that will be mosaicked. And then they will be installed in tree beds together with professional fencing, wrought iron fencing that will be professionally installed with cement footings, and then pavers and greening. So 18 tree pits in our neighborhood. We're going to try to strategically spread them out with young trees in them. And the pits should be the full 8 foot by 4 foot size. Then they will be spread out for this kind of a tree bed adornment, like art installation project. So we have about, I've been talking about this project for a little while. So I've actually recruited about 12 different people and or groups who would like to make one of the mosaic medallions. So I'm still looking for about 4 others. They could be a couple, it could be a family, it could be 2 friends, it could be 1 person, but the idea is that we're looking for people who would like to make a mosaic on the cement mold, and then would adopt that tree pit and care for that tree pit. So if you want if you think you might be interested or you want more information, just email me at beautification. And we can talk about that further. So the other thing, yes, somebody had a question. No.
I have a question. Is there a certain age? Because I know some kids in the neighborhood need like community service hours, but do you want like an adult with them?
Yeah, these are not like, this is actually going to be an art installation that has to be maintained and cared for it's supposed to last for 20 years. So not to say that the person who adopts it is going to stay and take care of it for 20 years, but this is something that is actually, it would be like the equivalent of a, you know, one mural, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. So it's, small kids will definitely need supervision, and there will be what I forgot to mention is that the mosaics making, they'll be led by a community artist who's also led many mosaic workshops, and her name is Cinder Hipke. So they will be led by a professional. And so, like I said, there's more information about, you know, there'll be a lot of information about how to make these mosaics. So it's not just kind of like do a community service project. It's really about making a piece of art that's going to be in our community for like 20 years. So they can get community service hours on top of that. That's wonderful. But yeah, it's not necessarily, our goal is not to provide community service hours.
Lisa.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Suzanne. Lisa, this is Jamie.
Hi.
Is the mosaic, is it, just for clarity, is it placed in the actual tree pit? Like,
yes.
okay.
So it's so when Brian is talking about the recycling, I'll come at the tag end and just show you what the molds are. They're 6 inches at their highest and 3 inches at their lowest. So there'll actually be a slant to them, and they'll be buried about 2.5 inches down. So they'll be 2.5 inches down into the dirt. You'll be able to see them from the sidewalk as you walk by, because they'll be slanted like this. But they will be kind of buried about 2.5 inches down. So that's why we need a young tree, because obviously the tree pit's not going to be root filled, and we need the space, and it has to be a larger tree pit.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Right now, we're going to move on to Robin Lewis, who just joined us. Robin is our delegate. She is going to talk about the Livable Streets Coalition, which she has formed with organizations and people that want to make our streets slower, safer, and more livable. So welcome, Robin. I just want to say that we have 20 minutes. So if you want to talk for 10 or 15, and then 5 minutes for comments. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Liz. Good evening, everybody. I'm Robin Lewis. I'm one of your 4 state representatives. I live in the Patterson Park neighborhood, north of the park. I've been in the community for over 20 years now, and served as a neighborhood leader and activist and a lot of things before becoming an elected official. Thank you guys for making time on your jam-packed community agenda tonight. I had to do a meeting with Federal Hill just now. That's why I was late. Folks in Federal Hill are not designing artwork. They are up in arms about some recent violent crime. So that was pretty stressful. And while I was on that call, my cat dragged in some dead animal carcass. So it's been a fun evening, but I was looking forward to being with you guys. So what I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes to orient you to an organization, a network that I have helped the community put together, and it's called the Livable Streets Coalition. And your neighbor, my buddy Brian, was kind enough to grab the screen and plop the Livable Streets website there. But I don't really see anything. Is it me, or it's just loading? It's loading. So here's the idea, everybody. You may know that I'm the only car-free legislator in the entire state of Maryland. And I got rid of my car several years ago because the Red Line was about to be built, and I felt I would not need a car. And then the Red Line didn't get built, but I still prefer life without the burdens and stress of car ownership. It's not easy in Baltimore. It's not like New York or DC with great transit, but it's doable. But with that in mind, that's context for you to understand how important mobility, justice, transit justice, livability, and walkability are to me. I'm not alone. About 18 months ago, a bunch of neighbors who live up here where I do, very close to Fayette Street and Orleans Street north of the park, close to the Enoch Pratt Library at Linwood and Fayette. A bunch of neighbors and a couple of nonprofits contacted me to complain about the hazardous conditions for people walking on Fayette and Orleans. This includes Councilwoman Shannon Sneed, who lives right on Fayette, a few blocks from me. And everyone was just fed up with conditions. There are car crashes, vehicle crashes, pedestrian injury and death. People riding bicycles, pushing wheelchairs, or getting hit by cars. Everyone wanted this to change. Not everybody knew exactly what to do about it. And after several months of conversation and some screaming and yelling, what made the most sense to me was to get everyone around the table to talk about how to harness existing programs and interventions and energy and power around transforming these very dangerous streets for people who are moving about on foot and otherwise. That's where the Livable Streets Coalition came together. The footprint of the coalition is really focused in the area where people were screaming and yelling at me, okay? That's where it started, but there is now citywide interest in what we're trying to do. But the original footprint, you'll see images from the video if you ever get to visit the website. The footprint includes everything from Fayette up to Madison or Monument, Highland Avenue to Broadway. This is a footprint that has 4 elementary schools, over 20,000, close to 30,000 households. It includes shopping districts, and it is, as you know, if you've ever walked any of the sidewalks that you're seeing, absolutely miserable and terrifying to navigate unless you're in a gigantic metal box with wheels going 40 or 50 more miles an hour. Our goal is to concentrate attention and energy around slowing down traffic. The amazing thing is that when you slow down vehicle speeds, you magically make the street a better place. Somehow a street with slower traffic is a livable, attractive, healthy, navigable, more pleasant place for human beings. And I happen to think that human beings and their well-being is more important than the convenience of commuters racing through our densely populated residential neighborhoods. The idea of livable streets is also really, really important right now. There's a lot of talk about criminal justice reform and policing reform. There's a lot of attention being paid to the evil and harmful legacy of white supremacy. And everybody's marching with a focus on issues like those. It's also true that to reform our society, to make it healthier, more just, equitable, sustainable, we have to take account of the 60 or 70% of our city's land area that's made up of streets. We've given over the vast majority of public space to moving vehicles rapidly. We need to spend more attention on the needs of humans, and doing so would help to dismantle some of the structures that sustain and replicate white supremacy, racism, and all the inequity in our society. So while lots of folks are focused on police reform and matters like that, I'm really focused on transforming our streets, coming together in a coalition. Our 5 or 6 neighborhoods, Butchers Hill, Patterson Park, Highlandtown, McElderry Park, Elwood Park, Washington Hill, the CARE community, as well as nonprofits like the Federation of the Blind and AARP, which has a huge stake in transforming our streets for people. So our goal in the next couple of months is to take advantage of the City Slow Streets program, which I'm assuming you guys are familiar with. I won't go into. We'd like to use Slow Streets to create a network of residential streets that are human-centered, pleasant, walkable, with slow speeds, and room for people to walk and recreate while socially distancing during the pandemic. So we've actually put together several applications for Slow Streets. We are working on some other interventions like slow intersections, complete streets interventions on intersections, artwork, other things. People are really also energized about cleaning our streets and alleys. So that's basically what Livable Streets is about. It's a coalition at the grassroots with a number of partners that's committed to seizing control of our streets and recentering them around human beings in a way that's equitable, multi-racial, multilingual, and respectful. And we're focused up here where I live, but if you guys are interested in what we're doing, like some folks in Federal Hill contacted me recently about it, you know, we can spread the love, make more happen, and all that good stuff. So that's what I wanted to share with you, and I'll stop talking. Thank you, Brian, for walking us through the website. I encourage you guys to take a visit and especially take a look at the video that we created that talks about how to evaluate the humanity of our streets and things we can do. We don't have to look at it now, but we will. Y'all can look at it later. So thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take.
Oh, I just wanted to say that we have a slow street in Upper Fells Point, and it's the street I live on, and it's so awesome.
Ah.
Bank Street.
Really?
So, yes, because I really feel, I sense the traffic has really been slowed, that there's less through traffic, and I love to walk outside and see people bicycling, jogging with baby strollers, and skateboarding down the middle of the street. So that's great. So yes, thank you.
That's so wonderful. I would love to hear more stories like that. Some of our Slow Streets projects haven't really taken off. There's a Slow Street designated at Linwood between Baltimore and Eastern Avenue, which runs along the park. And in a perfect world, it would be full of people and lively with activity. But humans are so used to ceding space to cars that a lot of people haven't begun to use that Slow Street segment. I think in some places it might be helpful for communities to take the reins and do some programming on the Slow Street to just teach people, because people in Baltimore are not used to this, to teach people that the street belongs to us and that the cars have to share it and not the other way around. So I'm glad that Bank Street's working out well, and I hope we can do more. The beauty of the Slow Streets program that the city's implementing right now, it gives us opportunity to experiment with what it's like to transform streets. And if those experiments work well, I hope we can keep them after this time of crisis ends. But thanks so much, Liz. I'm happy to take questions. If there aren't any, I urge you to check out the Livable Streets website and reach out to me anytime. I'm going to put my email in the chat also.
I put a question in the chat. This is Blair. My question is, how does your concept impact parking?
So, first of all, it's not my concept.
Yes.
People of this community wish to have safer streets. I did a Canvas exercise about a year ago in the months of September and October last year. I hired a couple of young interns to help me, and we knocked over 400 doors in the footprint that you're looking at here. You can see the neighborhoods and the areas that's included. Of the 400 plus doors that we knocked, we spoke to about 200 residents, human beings who live here, and we asked them, if you could change one thing about the street where you live, about your block, what would it be? And the human beings who reside here said to us overwhelmingly that what they really wanted The thing that would make their streets worth living on is slower car traffic or removal of car traffic entirely. If you've ever, I know most people in Baltimore own cars, so some of you may have gotten gas at this Royal Farms located at Fayette and Highland. Some of you may have done your shopping at the Aldi's, which is also just here, just by the Taco Bell. It's not seen in the map, but it's an Aldi's. Otherwise, a lot of folks in waterfront neighborhoods, they don't come up here. This area is predominantly African-American and growing Latino population. And white folks in waterfront neighborhoods, they don't come up here. Well, I live here. And what I can tell you from living here is that walking around is miserable and terrifying. And it turns out that my neighbors, more than 200 of whom we surveyed, said the same thing, that space for people is more important, especially during the pandemic. So to answer your question, the Livable Streets Coalition is going to experiment with projects that the people want. It's not my projects, they're projects of the people, and people want to do some painted intersections because that slows traffic. People want to do some slow streets around here. And the way that the city slow streets program works, it doesn't undermine or reduce parking spaces. What it does, it says that through traffic, that's cars rushing through to get from one point to another, are discouraged from moving on a slow street. So that human beings, little children, senior citizens, folks in wheelchairs, moms and dads pushing strollers, little kids on their tricycles, human beings can feel safe being in that street. The current Slow Streets program does not affect parking. It simply says that through traffic is discouraged, and it's discouraged by putting up barricades and other sort of visual barriers. Folks who live on that block, and Liz can tell you this, if you live on that block, that's a designated slow street. You want to park your car there or drive your car there, you can. So I hope I answered your question.
You did, thank you.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'd like to ask a question, or rather make a comment and then ask a question. Is that okay, Liz? Did I cut somebody off?
Who is that? Oh, is that Brian? Hi.
Hey, it's Brian McGalley.
Hi.
So
So
Liz,
many
thanks for-
Brians, it's kind of a lot.
We just say Brian and like half of us turn our heads. So I sometimes run in the area that you've designated for this program. I ride my bike in this area, and I could attest to the fact that running along Orleans is like running along I-95. It's flat out hairy, and it is not. If you're a child, if you're a person with mobility issues, if you're really anybody, it's not a fun experience. So anything that can be done to kind of like slow the traffic down and make it safer and more accessible, I think is fantastic. My question is, I'm
so glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, I mean it's truly wild. Like especially along Orleans, it's treated like a highway, not like a city that a sort of a street that's running through a major city with residential properties like on either side of it. But my question was, how does this sort of align with the sort of the broader Complete Streets initiative that we've heard a bit about, and has been advanced by folks within the city?
Right. So first, let me just acknowledge Brian Seal's 5-minute countdown. I saw that. Thank you. And for your question, Brian McGalley, the City Complete Streets program is enshrined in law. The city's Complete Streets program says that whenever the Baltimore City Department of Transportation is doing any repairs or building any new streets or roads, that it must do so with the principle in mind that pedestrian safety and access is the most important thing, not car speeds. Until the Complete Streets legislation passed in Baltimore City, streets, sidewalks, everything about our public domain, which makes up again 60, 70, 80% of the surface area of the city, was geared to moving cars quickly. Now, that law reversed it and says the safety and comfort and health of human beings moving around on foot is more important. That's a city law. And so whenever DOT is doing repairs or retrofits, they'll put in bollards at the intersection, or they'll grade the crosswalk so that it's easier for people. That's different than the Slow Streets program, which is it's called temporary. It's an experimental pilot initiative specifically to respond to the COVID pandemic, the purpose of which is to increase the amount of public space, open space, for human beings to move around safely while social distancing. It's a lot cheaper than widening a sidewalk and a lot less politically and socially challenging than like closing a street for traffic forever. It's an experiment. So those things coincide because the Slow Streets gives us opportunity to experiment with non-permanent changes like barricades that we might decide to transform into more permanent changes later. Complete Streets is different. It's a law and DOT has to follow it. With regard to Orleans, let me just add that partly because of the work of the Livable Streets Coalition and the activated energy that folks around here have, we're getting traffic speed cameras on Orleans. And what I hope we'll see, DOT will gather enough data to make the case for other more significant, hopefully more permanent traffic calming measures on Orleans, because it is a highway, it's a state highway, it's Route 40, and there are challenges with the way that our streets are engineered and the policies and the way we spend money at the city and state level, make it really hard to turn Orleans into Bank Street, for example, which I would love, but I think we'll get there little by little. And I'm happy to know that you treat this whole district like it's your front yard. I love that you come up here and run, and so that you know what life feels like. It's really important, and I encourage any of you to join me on a walking audit or one of these days, so when things are a little bit safer. And maybe you'll have some great ideas for experiments we can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Robin. We really appreciate it, and we'd like your.
You're so welcome.
Robin, if people want more information or want to help in any way, what's the best way to do that?
I would invite you to email me anytime, and I put my email in the chat. Oh, there's so many comments now. Oh my gosh. Chester and Pratt got approved today for Slow Street. Yes. The parking question got that through traffic from Hopkins. Yeah, we talked to Hopkins, and I'll keep talking to Hopkins. But right now, I think we have more. We have other fish to fry. But stay tuned. I love the Slow Streets. Curious what you see as next more permanent phase. Oh, can I just say the more permanent phase? Wider sidewalks with more trees. A greenway, a permanent pedestrian walkway, kind of like the Olmsted Brothers originally envisioned for Baltimore City, that will connect slow and calm streets from amenity to amenity, like from the waterfront to Patterson Park, to Elwood Park, to Bocheck Park, out to the upcoming Baltimore Greenway. That's going to be this big circular greenway around the city. Everybody in the city should be able to walk comfortably and pleasantly from their home to the greenway, to any green and open amenity. That's my fantasy, that's my vision. And those of you who are interested, please email me and I'll connect you with the work we're doing. Thank you guys so much.
Right, thank you, Robin.
Okay, I'll hop off. Bye now.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, so then Brian, if you can give us a little concise synopsis of the recycling that we sat on today to talk about, and all of the information that we've received.
Sure. Do we want to just talk about the discussion with Wheelabrator, or do we also want to talk about Trash Free Maryland too?
I think
I can just jam it in together.
Just jam it in, just keep it kind of concise so we can keep everything moving along, that's all. So
okay, so real quick, Lisa, Kurt, Liz, myself, and a few other folks have been, kind of reaching out to different authorities on, solid waste management in light of our issues with getting recycling picked up in the city, right? So last week we spoke to the executive director of Trash Free Maryland, Sheen Robinson, who gave us a lot of information about what his organization does. They're really focused on policy. They're, engaged in Annapolis. He's based in Montgomery County. The previous director was in our neighborhood, but he himself is based in Montgomery County, as I said. But he is very knowledgeable and provided a lot of information about really how the solid waste management systems work. He didn't have a ton of specific information for Baltimore City per se. I mean, he knew about the challenges that DPW was facing with respect to collecting, recycling, and with staffing and whatnot. And he knew that it had been suspended, but he gave us kind of a bigger picture view of what we're dealing with. And that was really helpful. And I think he can connect us with additional resources. So it's more of a fact-finding kind of discussion. And then today we spoke to a woman named Mary Urban from Be More Global, who Liz contacted, and who is the organization. Well, she's from Wheelabrator Technologies, but she's also which is a for-profit company that operates the trash incineration facility, that you see on I-95, but she's also associated with this nonprofit that works with various community groups to do kind of cleaning and greening projects. They're the folks who provided the recycling dumpster to us a few weeks ago. And Lisa set up that conversation with her to learn a little bit more about what is exactly happening with recycling, how the incineration facility works, and whether or not what we were bringing to the dumpster was actually getting recycled. Again, a very interesting conversation, a surprisingly complex topic. We didn't necessarily walk away with a ton of very clear answers, and that is not, I think, a reflection of the candor of Mary and how she was approaching the conversation. I think that she was being very upfront about the issues that we're facing, but it is a complicated subject. How things get diverted to landfills or to the incineration facility, how recycling is managed, these are all complicated questions. Her company that she works for doesn't do recycling itself. It just helps support these recycling programs. I think what they're dealing with is a surfeit of trash getting sent to their facility, so they actually want to get less. So they're trying to get more recycling done. When they do these dumpsters, the story is that they contract with Cockies, who does the hauling, and they bring it out to a single stream recycling facility in Howard County, and that facility takes it from there. So what happens to it after that is really kind of up to them. So next steps for us are, Mary's going to set us up, I think, with a conversation with somebody from the single stream recycling facility in Howard County to find out exactly what's going on there. They've agreed, Mary and Wheelabrator and We Can Be More have agreed to kind of help us with community outreach, to kind of engage with our community members, to teach them and tell them more about how recycling actually works and ensure that people are recycling properly. Because we know that not everything that is recycled properly actually winds up getting recycled, but we know for sure that if you don't recycle properly in the first place, it just gets burnt or diverted to a landfill. So if nothing else, we want to make sure that people are doing it right. And then we also talked about maybe setting up a follow-up dumpster. So lots of info. Happy to talk more about it if anyone's interested. Thank you, Lisa, for setting up that conversation, and Liz also for establishing the relationship in the first place.
All right, thank you, Brian. Next up, we're going to go back to the treasurer's report. Pascal, are you on?
Yes, I am. So we have, so as of this month, we've got $11,600 in the bank. It's been a pretty quiet month financially. Just one thing to be aware of, we are resuming printing of the physical newsletter again. So that was an expense that we hadn't had for a while that's going to start again. And also, I know we've got the Virtual Garden Rainbow fundraiser plan. So I wanted to, again, thank the people who organized that one. The COVID has kind of done a number on our budgetary plan, so I appreciate that.
But are you still thinking that it's possible in the fall, or as you said?
I'm sorry?
We can't hear you.
You cannot hear me?
For now we can.
Okay. I apologize. I'll repeat myself. So we've got $11,600 in the bank. It has been a pretty quiet month financially. The expense for the printing of the newsletter is going to resume because that is something that has started back up. And yeah, like I said, I wanted to organize the folks who are taking the time to come up with some creative fundraisers, since most all of our usual fundraising activities are obviously not happening because of the current situation.
Thank you, Pascal. Next up, we're going to have the community garden. So Jan.
Okay, the Ramble tickets are on sale now. Like Pascal said, it's a fundraiser for the community association. It's on September 25th, starts at 7. You'll see a lot of the garden gems in the neighborhood, including the community garden. There's also an optional mixology class that you'll learn how to make 2 cocktails. On the video, Josh Espinosa is providing the music, so it's going to be fun, I think. So you can see the link for the tickets on the website. It's in the newsletter on Facebook too. So come out for that, and it's all virtual. On the newsletter, we're back at print after being off for 5 months. If you did not get a copy, please let me know. I'm also looking for 2 newsletter delivery route people. I have a couple people that have moved or have given up their route for whatever reason. I need somebody for golf from Broadway to Washington. It's about 90 newsletters, probably take you about 30 minutes. The Mount Pleasant route, which is all the properties over there and the 100 block of Register, that's about 30 newsletters. That'll probably take you about 20 minutes each month. We do not have newsletter in December. And we do have alternates in case you're out of town and can't do it. So if anybody would be willing to take those on, please let me know. As far as sponsor news, the Fells Point Corner Theater is having a yard sale this weekend on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 3. They are also in the same boat as us, trying to figure out how to raise some money. They have a lot of essential repairs that need to be done to the building, so come out for that. You do have to wear a mask, and they are encouraging social distancing. The deadline for the October newsletter is October 5th at 5. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Jan. Let's go to Molly Fine and education.
Okay. Well, we've got some good news, I think. We have a wish list going for Miss Bavacqua's art teacher supplies. Our goal was $1,120 worth of supplies. We've reached 870. So, and that was really in a 3-week period. So I think that's pretty awesome. If you would like to participate in that, just contact me and I'll tell you what she needs. Upcoming, we're discussing, this isn't finalized yet, but we're discussing a collaboration with Greedy Reads, the bookstore, and Wolf Street Academy teachers for books that they need for their classroom. That it's, so stay tuned, I guess is the right word for that. I'm excited about the thought of trying to use that particular small business and the needs of the teachers and trying to combine that. The final thing, I just wanted to mention the Friends of Patterson Park, Saturday, October 3rd from 3 to 5. The artist Martha Simmons is going to be having a chalk day, and she's a great chalk artist. You have to register on the Friends of Patterson Park webpage, but I encourage anybody, any families particularly, to give a look at that on October 3rd. And anybody have, and I think I saw a question come through, but then it went away. Anybody have any comments or updates? One other thing, we are going to do our first, this coming Monday, I'm taking in art supplies, about half of them, to Wolf Street Academy. And so if you've got some supplies that you'd like to drop off at my house or you'd like me to pick up, so to get them out of your house, I'll be glad to do that. Sort of circling back.
And if anyone, Molly, is looking for note cards, anyone's looking for note cards, can the
yes, the note cards. The note cards are great. And there may be some more coming soon.
So is it sold out now?
No, it'll never be sold out.
Okay.
So just
because
tell
I can
people
order
how to-
more.
Just tell people
What's that?
how to get the note cards if they're interested.
Hey, contact me either by email or by a phone. I don't care. I have them in a secret stash.
And these are note cards made by the students of Wolf Street
Made
Academy.
by the students, and they are so cute. And on the back of each card, it gives the name, the grade of the child that drew the picture. It's a great selection that the art teacher chose. So,
Molly, you also have a question from Ben and Jamie about any kind of art supplies?
the art teacher has created a list of what she needs. So get in touch with me and I'll forward to you from her wish list what she's looking for. The price range right now is in the $40 to $50. You know, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about. Does that answer your question?
Going in the wrong direction. And 12
yeah. Or come down and knock on my door.
Molly?
Yeah.
Quick question. How do I reach out to you? Because I'm very interested in either donating money or buying cards, whatever it is.
Can you well, first of all, thank you. Do you get the newsletter? The
no.
Upper okay. I can share that with you. What would be the easiest way?
You can send it to me. You have my email address, correct?
I think so. If not, I'm going to get it. I promise. I will get it to you after the meeting.
Okay, please.
You can put it in the chat.
Yes, you can do that, please.
Put it in the chat.
Okay. All right. Will do. I'm a little clumsy.
All right. I don't mean to stop you, but yes, I'm very interested.
Thank you.
I have some money I need to give away. So.
Okay.
All right. You get the A.
We have somebody who's not on mute, and there's a lot of background noise. I'm not sure who that is.
Can you please mute yourself if you're not speaking, please? Okay, we're going to move right along to Matt Barnes and safety.
Good evening, guys. I have only a couple updates. I'll be pretty quick. National Night Out is October 6th. I'll be blasting it on Facebook here for the next couple days and weeks. It'll pretty much be virtual and somewhat of a stoop sit. So what we are kind of arranged to do is hand out drinks. I'll have I think I got 25 cases of beer donated to me that I can hand out across all the blocks. I think we'll probably have about 3 locations where you can pick them up. One will be around here at the corner of Golf and probably down by Liz at Chapel and Bank, and then down by Suzanne around Durham because she's so helpful. So we're gonna do basically shared drinks and a community soup sip that night. We're gonna also do some, Suzanne arranged to sell some masks for our local seamstress. She's we're gonna have those at certain stations to hand out along with free ones. So if you wanna buy a mask, I'm sure everyone can I'm sure everyone would love to add to their mask wardrobe. So there'll be some available for that. We also semi-launched the street liaison program last month, and we'll kind of be pushing that here over the next couple of weeks into National Night Out. So if you want to search on Facebook, the easiest way to find them would be typing in your street block. For example, mine would be 1800 Golf. So just typing in a simple Facebook search of 1800 Golf neighbors, that would probably queue up the Upper Fells Point street liaison or neighbors liaison page, and you can join it. I'm looking for street liaison captains / leaders there. I have leaders for 400 Durham, 1900 a Bank, 1700 Bank, 1800 a Golf, and 200 a Bank at the moment. So I'm looking for liaisons for the rest of the streets. Any volunteers are welcome. And that's about all. That's all I have. Any questions?
All right. Thank you, Matt.
I have a question. Is the liaison just for public safety, or is that something we could tie into beautification and just different issues?
I think it's anything you want to make it.
Okay, anything I want to make it, that's lovely, Matt. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, you can, basically, I think I just invited you, Suzanne, to be your block leader. And you have as much creative freedom with that page as you want. You can update the cover. You can use it for any sort of announcement, whether it be recycling or you're trying to find volunteers to clean up your street, or blast anything that's on the Upper Fells Point page that you'd like to kind of highlight. Like I said, I mean, it's not really for anything other than to network and help people on your specific street and kind of communicate. So I think whatever your little heart desires, Suzanne.
Lots of glitter, Matt. Lots of glitter.
All right, thanks, Matt. We're going to move on to Jeff May and land use.
Good evening, everyone. How well does my audio come through?
So far, so good.
Did my audio come through? Okay.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. One, last month, one of the topics, the buildings we voted on at the end of the meeting, 1709, there was a zoning appeal for converting that into two, or restoring it to two units, two rental units, two housing units. And that passed, it was approved by zoning on the 8th of September. As you know, we've been talking about how we're updating our our land use guidelines. We've got a lot of gathered a lot of good information from some participants in that effort. And now we're aware that we want to make sure we're very inclusive in this process. So we're actually having a meeting with Neighborhood Design Center tomorrow, see if they can help move this forward, maybe even hold community charrettes that just canvass everyone in the neighborhood to make sure that voices that may not attend our meeting are having an opportunity to get involved and kind of help identify the priorities to make sure that it's not going, that we're not just steering it into what we're familiar with. So we're trying to make sure that's a very inclusive activity. So like I said, we're going to meet with Neighborhood Design Center tomorrow and see if they might be able to help move that forward. And then got to put an item in the newsletter about a city council bill that called Fossil Fuel Infrastructures. And it's been introduced by Councilman Ryan Dorsey, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Shannon Sneed. And it's got 3 points to it. One is, and the purpose is to discourage reliance on fossil fuels through 3 ways. One is prohibiting construction of any new off-street parking spaces in an open space zoning district. So up like in Patterson Park, there are some parking area spots. This would prevent somebody deciding to bulldoze an area and put more in there. The second topic would be prohibit construction of gas stations anywhere in the city. And then third is this would address the zoning code and repeal requirements for providing a minimum to providing off-street parking when converting a building into a multiple unit. So just for everyone's understanding, one of the buildings we discussed last month was a proposal where somebody wants to buy 236 South Ann and install, make it a 3-unit development. There would be no off-street parking for the additional units that would be created. And under the zoning codes, current zoning code, a unit of off-street parking is required for each unit being added for a project to be approved under zoning. So that's an example of a project that, based on zoning code, would not be permitted. But if this is repealed, that might, that would be remove a barrier to doing a project like that. So this bill by Councilman Dorsey would repeal that requirement for off-street parking. And we've invited Councilman Dorsey. He will be the speaker next month. We wanted to share it with the association so people can get in, think about it. I will put in the chat a link where you can see the legislation. And then next month we'll have the proponent, the author, and we can talk about it. What we want to, if we have thoughts on it at that time. Okay, and subject to any questions, that's all I had.
No questions? Okay, thank you, Jeff. So let's move on to traffic and parking, and Kurt.
Hello, everyone. Don't have a whole lot for you this evening, but I did reach back out to DOT last week to find out more about the feasibility study for, slowing Washington and South Wolf Street down. And I did not hear back from DOT at all on that. So I don't have any update per se. One other thing, the Upper Fells has put an application in for a art bump out with ROW, or the right-of-way permit office at the corner of Gulf and South Wolf Street, where this will be hopefully a traffic calming or slowing measure as well. That if it works well, or if we get the approval and it works well here, this can be duplicated throughout the neighborhood. Brian Seals sort of running this initiative, so I'll pass the ball over to Brian if he has anything else he wants to add on that, unless anyone has any questions for me before, I don't know, I pass it over to Brian. All right.
Yeah. So it's all we're looking to do is put up some. It's actually what Lenny had suggested, is just using some tires that will paint to kind of do a temporary bump out. It'll be something that's easy to try, easy to reverse if we don't like it, but could potentially be a traffic calming measure until the longer term thing is put in place. So, well, it's supposed to take 30 days for it to be approved, so we'll see what happens.
All right, thank you guys. do we have any new business? Anyone? Okay, I think that's it. So next month, we're going to have, as Jeff stated, Councilman Ryan Dorsey. The bill number is 20-0561, the fossil fuel bill. If everybody can kind of get themselves familiar with that, so that you may have some questions for Ryan Dorsey at our next meeting. So,
oh, Liz, I wanted to know if I have this molds brought up, if anybody wants to see them.
oh yes, sure. We have time. Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
So I think I could share my screen. It looked like it worked before. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, so here is the molds that we're actually making that we then pour cement in. So here is what they look like with cement in them. And if you look in the top right corner, that's actually a bowling ball. So you get a sense of how like big these guys are. But down at the bottom part here is actually the part that's 6 inches deep. And the part here is actually 3 inches deep. So this will be kind of, well, you can't see me, but it'll be at a slant. And then we have some people making them, mixing the cement and volunteering. We've made 8 out of the 18. So if any of you guys want to mix some cement in my backyard and make some molds, let me know. But anyway, that's what they look like. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to show you. Nah. Anyway, they're big. So, and they're heavy, but that's intentional because we wanted them not to be able to be walked off. You know, we didn't want them something that was very mobile. So anyway, if that gives you a better sense of what they look like, they'll be laying, one side is completely flat, one side is tilted, 20 inches by 12. So anyway, fun stuff.
One quick thing.
Yes.
Yes. Just wanted to let everyone know if they need anything from me in reference to the recycling, questions, issues, or concerns, please reach out to me at any time. I'm available 24/7. So unless you have some issues or concerns, I'm here.
Can you type your email address into chat?
I certainly will.
Okay.
I'll do that right now.
And is there somebody from DPW, I don't know if it's you or someone else, that could come and speak to us just to explain the recycling process? Like when the truck picks it up starting in November, again, from our doors, like to come and explain to us where it goes, what is actually being recycled, where it's sorted, and things like that, so we have a better understanding of what's really happening.
Can you do me a big favor?
Possibly.
Can you send me an email of exactly what you want, so that we're talking about next month, correct?
No. Or whenever. Because I think.
When can you call? I would want to know when you would like to call a meeting, so that I could get in touch with the individual that I would like to bring to the table for that. And rather than just me, I'd like to bring an individual that's all they do.
Well, would anybody like to hear that next month, or is there a desire to
Actually,
hear?
Or you want it before then?
Yeah. Can I say, I like the idea. Liz, is that something that could be added to the agenda for next month?
Well, I think, I feel like Lisa and Brian are sort of addressing that. Is that correct, Lisa? Like we're trying to figure out the big picture.
Yeah, well, actually, I do like the idea of somebody from DPW actually explaining the process, because I've been doing a lot of reading on my own, and I'd love to hear what the city official has to tell us as a summary of all their reports.
Yeah, and I think, Bill, I think I think we really want to bring somebody to the meeting. And what I think we'll do is maybe we could talk at the board meeting next week about what the what meetings might be available. And when we were talking today, I think it'd be nice to have more than just one person like representing DPW, but maybe a couple of people who represent various aspects of the process. So yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people are interested in learning about. And I think that we would want to dedicate, we wouldn't want it to be like a secondary speaker. It would have to, you know, it would be a
So we
main.
could do that in November.
Well,
We have November available, so that would be a month we could do that.
Okay,
So is that something y'all will get in touch with Mr. Larry? I don't need to do that.
I'm your lawyer.
Okay.
So whatever your issues and concerns are, I would really like to know what they are so that I can get all over it and try to address them. In some cases, they may even be addressed before you have your next meeting, and we can discuss about it further.
And then maybe at next month's meeting too, we can discuss briefly about what questions we do have up to recycling.
What I'd like you to give me those questions before, so that when the person comes to your meeting, I can or I can have some answers for you. I'd rather not wait until next month for you to ask me something that I could have gotten answered for you even before the next meeting, and we could discuss further to make sure we got everything straight.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board is going to take care of this. So, okay, thank you.
So Suzanne, Mr. Nunley, what I'll do is either myself, and I know that you've been in regular correspondence with Ms. Brian Magali. So what I think what we'll do is we're going to kind of put together who specifically from DPW we would like to have at the meeting, because we're finding that depending on who you ask, you get different information. So
well, I'll tell you what.
Sometime.
Send everything to me. I know where all the bones are buried and what individuals would be best to bring the answers to you.
Okay.
But if you're talking to everybody, then it just makes it really crazy.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'll look to hear from you shortly then.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for attending the meeting, and we will see everybody next month, if not sooner.
Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.